Hello and welcome to our panel discussion on how CPGs and retailers can win with data and advanced analytics during and after COVID-19. I'm Shuchita Jain, the VP of Client Development and Marketing at Transorg Analytics, and I'm joined today by our CEO, Mr. Naveen Jain, as our co-host. We have an insightful hour with a distinguished panel of industry experts on one of the hottest topics of this year, followed by about 10 to 12 minutes of Q&As asked by you. So please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll try to address them towards the end of the discussion. I'd like to now take an opportunity and introduce our company Transorg Analytics to you. For over 11 years, we have been offering end-to-end services, solutions, and products in data engineering, data science, machine learning, AI, process automation, and smart data visualization, servicing over 60 clients across India, Middle East, Asia Pacific, and North America. Please feel free to visit our website to learn more about us. Now, coming to the topic at hand, it has been said that for businesses worldwide, COVID-19 has compressed 10 years of change into almost 1 year. For CPGs and retailers, understanding this change is very essential to moving forward as they engage with their consumers with omni-channel experiences such as online shopping and direct-to-consumer business. A timely, frequent measurement and an analysis of complex business performance is crucial, but how do you do it when the baseline indicators are not relevant anymore? Well, advanced analytics, AI, and machine learning may just be the key to achieving this. Now, so to answer these questions and more, we have brought together an eminent and an illustrious panel of industry experts who will share their insights on how you can win with data and advanced analytics. Our first panelist is Mr. Bhargav Datta, Practice Head, Group Data and AVP, Digital and Data Analytics, Aditya Birla Group. Bhargav is a pioneering digital and analytics leader in the industrial sector spanning oil and gas, marine, aerospace, food and beverages, cement and metals, covering manufacturing, supply chain, logistics, operations, sales, marketing, and HR as part of Industry 4.0 roadmap. With assignments across US, Europe, Asia Pacific, and India, he was recognized recently as the Gen Next leader in analytics for the year 2019 by SCM Pro Forum and as industry leader 2020 by 3AI Association. Our second panelist is Mr. Ritesh Ghoshal, Chief Marketing Officer, Croma Infinity Retail Limited. Ritesh is a market researcher by training and a marketer by profession, with over 25 years of a track record in launching new brands like Tata Docomo and Minute Maids, reinventing legacy brands like Photon, Thumbs Up, and Maaza, and adapting global brands to Indian realities like Coke, Fanta, and Sprite. His wide experience includes stints across FMCG, telecom, and retail, and now as a CM of Croma, he has piloted the transformation of a brick-and-mortar giant into India's first truly omni-channel retailer focusing on a digital-first connection with a generation of digital natives and winning an impressive 50% growth in its outlets, 100% growth in revenue, and profitable same-store growth over the past 5 years. Our third panelist is Mr. Rajneesh Goyal, Regional Supply Chain Director, Africa, Middle East, and South Asia, Reckitt Benckiser. Rajneesh is an end-to-end supply chain specialist, having diverse operational and strategic level experience in demand forecasting, production planning, procurement, manufacturing, customer services, and logistics. As a sales and operations planning specialist, he has successfully deployed S&OP as a strategic and operational tool with an entrepreneurial approach to deliver key business KPIs with proven expertise in end-to-end supply chain cost and efficiency improvements, supply analytics, digital supply chain, and in change management. Our fourth panelist is Mr. Devendra Jain, Assistant Vice President, Supply Chain and IT, Bajaj Consumer Care. Devendra has over 20 years of experience in supply chain, strategic sourcing, manufacturing operations, import-export, and strategic cost management. His previous assignments included leadership roles at GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson & Johnson, IFCO UAE, and Dabur. Our fifth and final panelist is Mr. Umesh Joshi, Associate Director, Supply Chain Management, Perfetti Van Melt. Umesh is a senior supply chain professional with over 21 years of leadership experience in FMCG, consumer goods, and automotives with brands like Perfetti Van Melt, Pidilite, Britannia, ITC, Murugappa Group, and Bajaj Auto. He is an alumnus of IIM Bangalore, UT Mumbai, and MNNIT Allahabad with proven expertise in supply chain management, demand and supply planning, SNOP, IVP, purchase, sourcing, customer services, logistics, warehousing and transportation, operations, analytics, IT implementation, project management. Welcome all our respected panelists, and thank you so much for giving us your valuable time and insights today. I would now like to start a discussion by asking all of you a question that has been there on everyone's minds. In terms of these unique opportunities and business struggles that we have faced in the last 6 to 7 months, what were some of the unique business challenges that you have faced in your industry? And how did you ensure a smooth business operation? I'd like to request Mr. Ritesh Koshal to open the floor, please.
So actually, it's been a peculiar year in a lot of ways. It's been a first for me in 25 years of working. For the first time, I was in a position where I had to control the demand, limit the number of people I will allow into the stores rather than, focus on inviting more people every day to come shop with us. So that was, the challenge this year. How we try to approach it, and I'll talk about three things which are very, very different. One is we turned our site into an asset to help people who are not necessarily e-com friendly shoppers. Okay, so series of things like buy on a phone call, buy via video demo on the site. Offer people storefront pickup so that people don't enter the store and we still enjoy the business. Come to the store after booking an appointment. These are some of the things which we started as services starting end of May onwards to try and regulate and manage the traffic in the stores. Of course, more people have also been buying on Croma.com than ever before, and that itself has posed a few challenges for us because frankly our site is in terms of the experience, in terms of the readiness to serve customers, was not always spec to handle the amount of traffic which was coming its way. So that was one set of challenges. Second was we turned all the tools we use to manage footfall, etc. So for and customer experience in our stores to actually ensure and track compliance against safety norms. So the exit survey, which we do to measure customer experience in the store, we were instead, using it to, check with customers, confirm with customers if they saw, social distancing being maintained, if they saw gloves on the cashier's hands. A series of steps which we're taking, were they actually, the stores were actually compliant when they shop with it. The CCTV in the store, which is usually used to see, track customers and see whether, whether their dwell time is higher, lower, etc. We were instead using to see whether customers and staff are maintaining distance, whether staff and staff are maintaining distance, and, raising an alarm whenever something would go wrong, we would call the store manager and try and address that. Even footfall counters were actually used to, raise an alarm if there were too many people inside the store rather than, trying to find people to come into the store. And finally, of course, keep a very active track in terms of the number of COVID cases. If, a store suddenly starts popping up on a case a day kind of thing, how do you address that concern? So this was the second set of things. And third was really, this was a time when everybody was on edge. Okay, so if somebody had his order fulfilled, he was delighted. Anybody who did not get his order fulfilled was, extremely angry. So social media, instead of being a, means for adding to your brand's message, became a way of handling customer service issues. Because, the traditional channels, so service centers, 50%, allowed to work for a certain number of hours in a day, the website creaking under the traffic. So the traditional channels of customer service were also falling apart. And therefore, social media became almost the first time we got to know a customer was having an issue with us. And setting up systems to address that became another challenge.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ritesh, for those insights. Highly practical and important to take care of customer safety while also improving business volume. So I'll quickly jump to Rajneesh. Coming from Reckitt Benckiser, I think some of the most sought after products were Dettol and Lysol in your segment, and I think customers were beelining for it in the stores. How did you manage this sudden jump in customer volume, the sales volumes, and what were some of the other challenges in terms of logistics disruption, and how did you overcome some of those?
So, thanks for this wonderful question. So the problem was more a problem of plenty for RB in terms of the demand that was there. And you're right, products like Dettol were in sanitizers, disinfectant sprays, Lysol, and Dettol antiseptic liquid, all the products. In fact, even if I were to go out and ask for some, to buy products from the retail outlets nearby, it was complete stock out everywhere. So the problem on hand was, one is to resume the operations very fast so that we can make more and more product available for the masses, for people to help protect them. So that was our first priority, and there are some learnings which I'll also share. So one is, I want to share the message with whoever is there, as part of audience. You will realize the importance of SRM, things like supplier relationship management. These are the things which come in handy during these times. The suppliers like DCs, factories, contract manufacturers, they've been so supportive in terms of being at the forefront and resuming operations. Since the products were of such nature, government was also very supportive in terms of issuing permissions, to operate from wherever we operated from. So government was supportive. Since we do things like, this Banega Swachh India and these kind of initiatives, we partnered the government anyways. So government was really, really supportive in terms of resuming operations, which was very, very important for all of us. And I'm not really talking only for India. It is across the globe. The demand shot through the roof. So, we were quick enough, and thanks to SRM and, the partner treatment that we provide to our business partners, whether it is contract manufacturers, third-party logistics players, or, manufacturing sites, etc. So we were able to spring back very fast with most of our facilities, which ensured that the product were available. But then there was a challenge, are our customers open to take the products from us, distributors, modern trade, e-commerce. So yes, we started building stocks wherever we could, and ensured that we were definitely in touch with our customers, who whatever support they wanted from us, we were there to support them. We ensured that we were not doing unnecessary kitting of the packs, and ensuring that a plain simple SKU in consumer packs was available. Bulk big SKUs were stopped immediately. So these kind of portfolio rationalization we did to ensure that retail packs are available at plenty wherever packaging material and other capacities permitted. So we made those products on priority and made them available. One thing I'd like to mention here, and which is very important for all organizations, this is something people talk about it, but no serious action is ever taken in the organization. Something oft used word is BCP. We talk about BCP, it's a fancy word. And if you actually go and audit organizations, what serious BCPs are in place, you'll find, most of us will fall short in terms of expectations, in terms of readiness, what BCP should be. And so was the case with RB and other organization who I spoke with. But thankfully, and this is a question of what kind of capacity utilization do you work in your organization for? If it is 65, 70%, you have plenty of room available to increase production, to make more products available. If you're already working and already sweating your assets to the extent of 90%, then there is hardly any room for you to bring any upside to production volumes. So these are some of the discussions, senior management leadership teams should trigger in the organizations to see at least what is the right capacity utilization they have. And in cases like such exigencies, how do organizations respond immediately to consumer needs? So that was one. So these are some of the things we did in terms of BCP. We were lucky enough to reach out to many business partners and ensure capacity activation at their end. Sanitizer capacity was made 5-folds within a matter of 1 month. And the multiplier in demand was infinite multiplier in sanitizer. All of us would have seen it. You go anywhere, and look at the kind of players who are coming into the market with sanitizers. So, but still, Dettol sanitizer is something which is much sought after. And even today, you'll not find Dettol sanitizer, despite increasing the capacity 10 times. So that's why I'm saying the demand increase was infinite in the product ranges that I'm talking about. So these are some of the things that we did in terms of logistics. Things like direct dispatches to consumer, to customers, are certain other things which we did. Rationalization. We wanted more and more packs to reach end consumers, and hence we had to cut some orders from general trade, modern trade, and we had to give and prioritize more dispatches to e-commerce as soon as they opened up. So these were some of the things we did to ensure that large consumer interest is taken care while we are resuming operations. Thanks.
Wonderful. So supplier relationship management is key. Having a moat and capacity utilization is a key. So wonderful insights. Thank you, Rajneesh. So Devendra, I'll just quickly come to you now that, there was news that Bajaj Consumer Care reported a healthy 20% growth in the first quarter of this financial year, despite all of the business challenges. So what was unique about the business? How did you, manage the last 6-7 months? And what were some of the key findings in terms of the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome some of those?
Yeah, so I'll start with the way it all started. And the key thing which I learned in this 6-7 months is how to operate in chaos. So you don't know what will happen tomorrow, but you still have to plan, you have to still send schedules, you have to still arrange vehicles and everything. And in this whole journey, you have to make assumptions, and then assumptions are norms because there are no norms. So in the initial part, it was really chaotic. We don't know which depot will open. We don't know which factory will continue to give us products, and which we didn't know which supplier will keep on sending material. But as Rajneesh rightly put up, that we had long relationship with the partners, and what come may happen, partners have supported us in terms of getting permissions from the authorities, arranging their input materials, even outward logistics in terms of delivering goods to us. And in spite of working capital challenges, payments, this, that, delays, on in transit, in route, holding of vehicles because of containment zone, this, that, still the service provider continued to provide services. The staff team members who were there on the field operated with necessary precautions, although it was very challenging, at least to operate in the initial 2-3 months in the field. But the happy thing which I realized and which happened to me as an individual was I was given charge of IT last year sometime in April. And that time I didn't realize that how important the supply chain and IT integration is. But that's the time when I really realized, because apart from these operational challenges, we noticed some significant market changes which has happened over these few months. So some of these were like the demand in rural centers was far, far better than what it was in the urban centers. Now in rural also, if you see, the traditionally small packs used to do very well. 10 rupees, 5 rupees, 1 rupee, this, that. And urban centers were more prominently for large packs, which is, high value and large volume packs. But it completely turned around, and in rural areas, large packs started doing very well. So in order to augment and redistribute those supplies, it was pretty challenging for us. What we could figure out was, because now at Bajaj, we have full integration. Our secondary sales is captured on the handhelds, which is the retailer sales. Then distributor is also captured on the system, and which is then integrated with the BI tool to give us complete visibility. So within supply chain, we had formed a small control center, which will look at all the data. And that's where I guess that's the really a digital supply chain rather than ERP. ERP is just automation of your work. ERP is not digital. So when you can look at the complete data stream and on how the demand is flowing, and hence what it impacts it has on your stock holding and distribution of your product, because manufacturing is also constrained. You are operating with maybe 50% capacity because social distancing, all that, incoming material, various challenges, mold capacities, etc. for high pack, volume pack, because those are all time consuming things. So this whole visibility of end-to-end movement of stocks, availability of finished goods, and prioritization as per the market requirement was very critical to make sure that the system works smoothly, and as far as possible we meet customer requirement. And I'm happy to say that we still clocked more than 90% of service deliveries. I know we had to call up Rajnish's team for 2 months to give some of the offer products we had manufactured for Racket, and the issues were very, very different. Today I don't labor. Today the place is closed because of containment zone. These things you have never heard of, and you have never taken in your planning of the stocks. So all these new things you would come up to you every day. You will do the planning. So if you typically see, we don't get into day-to-day planning, but this was the time then when 3-4 of our key members, we every day used to sit together, look at the whole data chain, how it is moving, how the sales, secondary sales is moving, hence primary and manufacturing is moving, and then revisit our plan every day basis. And I guess that would be the norm going forward, that the supply chain guys would have to have much more stronger data analysis capability in order to succeed in tomorrow's market challenges. And the business direction was very clear. Don't worry about forecast accuracy. Don't worry about all this, this lead time, that lead time. Finally, the product has to be available at the time when the order is there. And
Absolutely.
that's the reality. Means you can keep on boasting of your forecast nahi aaya, ya ye nahi hua, but finally the organization loses out. Consumer preferences and when the changing consumer priorities, supply chain leaders of tomorrow and even the team members who come fresh and join these teams should have a very good orientation and training on data analytics and seeing the whole chain of material value chain as to where intervention is required and take decisions on a priority basis, not delay it or defer it for bosses.
Right.
So that was my best experience, and that's where we are now also focusing, that all our team members should have some essential module of data analytics learning for them.
Wonderful, Devendra. Thank you so much for that insight. I'll quickly take an introduction with Bhargav as well. So Bhargav, coming from a conglomerate with almost different working models for each of the, the subsidiaries and businesses, how was it at a corporate level, since you're part of the group analytics team? How did you foresee the data and business challenges during the disruption? And what were some of the key findings for you personally?
Yeah, so first of all, this is, I think we all agree, this is once in 100 years of event, right? So
Right.
nobody anticipated and nobody knew what to be done. But one common thing across what we have observed within our all business groups, that we should do something in digital. We should be looking at digital transformation. People have realized that is first thing happened. But fortunately, that what one good thing about builder groups is perspective is that we have started this journey about few years back itself. About I would say 3-4 years back, with the formation of our group, this journey has started. And in some of the business groups, we are quite in tuned in this journey, and we are quite mature, which helped a lot in navigating this challenge. So, so taking that thing further, what I want to I highlight 3 things. Basically, what business is looking from, like from the group like us, work at a central function. First of all, as I told you at the very beginning, the maturity of this digital analytics journey is different across our group companies. So that is one thing. So that is what now business has, as a group, we have realized that we have to standardize this maturity. That is the first thing. Second thing is the data. So data, everyone says we have data, but that is a common answer across all functions, that we have data. But how, and they also know what should be done, but nobody knows how it can be done. So that how piece, what the second piece, that what we need to bring in as a corporate cell on this area. Like what, although I understand they have data, but what type of data is relevant for what kind of business problem at what granular frequency, right? So that kind of that learning piece that was missing at a group level. It is across the board. Just to give you an example, for let's say supply chain. Okay, in the supply chain, when I do my focusing, sales focus or all, probably daily level or maybe daily level data should be good enough. But at the same time, if I have to handle my asset performance and manufacturing assets performance, I need to get into more detail, right? I cannot just look at shift level data at the KPI level. I have to get into minute level, second level data. So that kind of understanding, first of all, we had to give that we have provided to the business. Of course, we have been giving this for last 2-3 years. So some business are in quite ahead of curve as against others. Now what happened, then came the third piece is that as everyone was expecting that digital transformation has to work now. If it does not work in COVID, then what is the use of digital transformation, right? So that is the third question came to us. So then of course that is another piece we need to make them understand that, see, this kind of event, as I told you at the very beginning, it is once in 100 years lifetime event. So nobody anticipated. As a human intelligence, I cannot do. Similarly, my data also cannot identify this pattern. So that is one learning that what we have to provide it. But important point is that how quickly my models, whatever focusing model, I'm just taking focusing example again, how quickly my focusing model learns this behavior and get into the normal way of focusing. So the good thing about is that I as everyone is agrees, April, May is for any focusing world is a disaster. Nobody could focus anything on April and May. But good thing about us, what we have observed, the way we have built our modeling approach and all, from June onwards, we are quite on par in terms of detecting the trend. June, then July, August, that gave us almost like, although overall business is down, definitely it is down, but as in terms of focusing philosophy, the accuracy and all, it is quite on par and on par what was pre-COVID stage, right? So then now basic business understood, okay, this is okay. We should not, that means they should not lose faith in this digital analytics transformation journey. It is a once or twice hiccup kind of things now, but eventually if we are in the right track and right process in place, this will give them benefit. So the benefit how we have provided them to during this phase is that uh, just after the first lockdown announced, and then after that when first unlocking happened, so business has to resume the business, right? So that three, now there's three things on this. One is your manufacturing resumption, manufacturing, then your supply chain. The third is your sales force. We have to activate the sales force. Now, but still, it is not actually unlocking everywhere. It's just few spots here and there getting unlocked. So we had now that in that scenario, we brought in, as we had already built one good data ecosystem across the group, we brought in the external information in terms of the pandemic spread, and then the disruption in terms of logistics, looking at a geography and pandemic spread, what amount of logistic disruption that may encounter to our supply chain, that we have calculated, we have anticipated. Related to that, what kind of business I can guarantee for next 1 month. We just bucketed in everything in month kind of thing, because we had a good S&OP process, but that S&OP will not work in these phases. So we just bucketed down, actually not in the month, it's actually bucketed in 10 days kind of frequencies. So next 10 days, depending on spread, virus, pandemic spread, how it may affect my logistics disruption, how it may affect my manufacturing disruption, and how it may affect my sales force activity. So this we have calculated. We did some estimation leveraging data analytics, and then we provided the business what is your scenario may look like. Okay, we provided this 10-day kind of scenario analysis. That is for initial 2-3 months. After that, of course, majority things came out, opened up. And another good thing is that another challenge was that I think some of the panelists have already mentioned about manpower reduction, right? Because of all migrant movement and all, this has affected across our manufacturing as well as supply chains, logistics side. So with the minimal manpower, how we can best allocate across my value chain, so that my at least current demand, I can meet my current demand. So that kind of scenario modeling also we help the business. So those kind of initiatives we have helped it. And eventually third and another aspect what came from very top, Mr. Builder, that we need to focus on three things considering this year. One is of course the cost saving, whatever cost we have incurred. I know that I'm not going to get any top line growth this year. Focus on cost. That is first. Second thing, cash flow. Cost then cash flow. How I can optimize my cash flow in terms of payable as well as receivable. How in fact, we are in the process of building cash flow forecasting, receivable forecasting, and all these things so that it helps business to get more insight about planning their work in this year. Then for third piece is reimagine the business, reimagine or redesign. In this phase, the main important point is to identify the change in customer behavior. Because of this is a tectonic shift that happened. Initially, no one thought that it will last that long, but it has basically changed the mindset of a customer. That change in mindset, how it has changed, how it may impact my business in different categories. That now we are actually we have started this journey identifying this, what other changes may happen. With these changes, what kind of product innovation, process innovation we need to take it forward. So this third aspect now we are currently focusing in a big way. So this is in short what we have been helping the business as a central function.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Bhargav. So, that's a lot of insights here in terms of digital transformation, intelligently using external data to closely monitor the business, and also supporting the business in terms of scenario planning. So I quickly discuss with Umesh as well. Umesh, Perfetti Van Mel, the products are an impulse buy, right? So how did you tackle specifically the challenges with regards to the business disruption? And what were some of your key findings in that aspect?
Thanks for providing opportunity to me, Suchitra. So in our industry, even though our product is impulse category product, but the good part is that it is a low price point. It does not require too much money to indulge the feel of that product. And once the lockdown was enforced, that we have seen there was some hiccups, but thanks to Uttarakhand, Tamil Nadu as well as Haryana government, they provided us adequate support to open our facilities. And meanwhile we got the support from all the state governments also to operate the depots, and we opened all the vendors, and with the help of the global team basically, and we got the insights in Jan itself. I mean, something big is going to hit us, and we started building the stocks by using all our supplier database and using the data analytics. Wherever we have less number of NOD, number of days cover in terms of RMPM, we have taken the sufficient cover by using the data analytics. And we started the production also in full flash. So we have, the day the lockdown was enforced, we have the enough pipeline covered, but there was no demand from the market. But once we got the permission from the state government to run our depots, so then the stocks start flowing to the depots. And our team basically, as in sales and marketing team, analyze their data of the POS data basically, and continuously worked by the phone calls or by through the emails, and using their stores data and taken the orders, and we have serviced that orders. Now in fact, using the data analytics, we run in fact the reverse auctioning on daily basis on each route. And earlier when we were open, every transporter was asking some 30 to 40% hike, but our average we incurred hardly 5 to 10% actually in those months, April and May months. And then once we started bouncing back, and I told my team also, let's start again SNOP process and analyze the data, and we did all the history correction and other things, and then started again working on the full SNOP cycle. And but the dispatches we did on DDMRP model basically. We used to hold all the stocks at the mother depot near to the plant, and once it gets replenished, then only we'll be dispatching it. And in addition to that, we have used the customers data, and wherever possible that we directly serviced it from the factories. So by using the data analytics, it helped us who are the big customers, and getting the orders from them, and helping the sales team to fulfill those orders. And in terms of the vendor base, earlier the company policy was the lesser vendor. There was hardly one vendor in some of the category. Again, we have done a lot of data analysis and what will be the risk if we bring more vendors. In fact, we added 2-3 more vendors in some of the categories. Like we have fat, we have fresh cream, and we have jar labels. And those vendors basically we have built up over the period of 10 to 15 days with the help of R&D. And in fact, they have also done a lot of analysis in terms of samples and other things. Online interaction happened with our R&D team in Italy, and they have taken the quick approvals and given us the support. So this time our team has used the data. Basically, I love really work in advanced planning systems, basically from my previous background also. I really get excited to work in data analytics field, and we really use the data, and we have serviced the customer demand on time, not only on the vendor side but also at the POS side also. So full integration happened. So wherever we felt that yes, we need to fast, implement those modules. Like currently we are working on TMS, so which will be one again, full-fledged data analytics for transport management system. And we have implemented CRS system, so where we will be covering the stock levels of all the distributors, and automatically system will be generating the orders. We will be only checking the how much money he has given, and orders will be fulfilled. So I think every FMCG company learned in this period, and this COVID is a black swan event, but this will be bringing a lot of data automation, and this will be bringing a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So in fact, in our shop floor, I will tell you that earlier we used to have some push buttons, right? So there's curtain and no fly goes inside the food factory. So now everything is automated basically. So just to recognize your face and gate will open, and once you are enter, gate will automatically shut. So these kind of all automations we have done inside the factories. And in fact, we were seeing the possibility of maintaining safe distance also. Like if somebody crosses the distance, and automatically through the machine learning, it will buzz the alarm, and we will see how much NCs we are getting, and then people will be maybe getting warning. You see, you are violating that minimum safe distance zone. So these kind of things also we are exploring in future, which can be implemented. In addition to that, we have already implemented Power BI, and data analytics basically will be using extensively in future, in not only in our side. In fact, I have requested our marketing team also to give us insight in terms of causal models, basically, which we can take some factors in our forecasting tools, basically uh, tying up that data with the market share data, Nielsen data. In fact, tracking the effectiveness of all the trade monies, basically like ATL and BTL activities, how effectively basically we can measure the ROI on this. And in case of e-com, if we float some dynamic pricing, basically how the season is coming and how the traffic into the B2C portal, and based on that the automatically system adjusts the pricing, and it ensure that company gets the maximum flow. And I am sure that every company will be working on e-com channel in future. And we also got more than 500% growth over last years, basically. And we are going to develop a lot of packs which is going to help and enrich the much more customer experience in our space. And not only this, we are going to focus on more on fortification of our candies, and we have launched last 2 months back Juicy Fills, which contains vitamin C, which improves immunity. And with the help of the data, where
Right.
basically COVID patients or child disease malnutrition childs are there, and even the pregnant ladies are there, where the most this vitamin C requirement is there. So using that data with the help of some partners, basically we can fulfill that demand. And slowly moved towards the health products product company also.
Right.
So that's how-
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we've discussed a lot in terms of what we have done operationally and strategically to manage this. So I'll quickly come back to the consumer because the main, entity that we have to look at is consumer. And I'll come back to Ritesh. So Ritesh, as the marketing CEO or CMO at Chroma, you've seen some shift in consumer behaviors as well. So what kind of, consumer predictive models were you using earlier, and are you still using them? Like, are you seeing any new kind of consumer behaviors? What has been your learning in terms of new consumer behaviors and how you are using analytics to understand some of those?
Number one, we don't use any predictive modeling. In fact, one of the first learnings, Chroma gleaned on its journey to being a analytics savvy retailer back in 2011-12, incidentally long before I joined this company, was that one should not predict as a retailer because there's a fundamental asymmetry between the reward in case you win versus the cost of getting the prediction wrong. Okay, in case this has been a great case in point. This year has been a great case in point. If we had predicted demand for the period of April, May, June, by the end of June, our company would have been bankrupt. Okay, because nobody could have foreseen what has happened to us, and the April, May, June quarter is a huge quarter for ACs and refrigerators. So we would have absolutely gone belly up if we had predicted demand and stocked up accordingly. Our model, when it comes to how we approach retailing, is basically try and operate like a local kirana at scale. Keep your ears close to the ground so that you have a good sense of what's happening, what's selling, what's not selling, and emulate his speed to response. The challenge in our digital transformation journey has been how do we bring a chain of 170 stores across 35 odd cities to behave like a local kirana, and that's really the journey we are on. Coming now to the so therefore our focus is a lot on tracking rather than on predicting. Okay, coming now to the shifts we have seen in our customers' behaviors. Number one, through the course of the pandemic and now into unlock, we are seeing a lot of first-time modern trade shoppers. So people who are historically been comfortable with the general trade are preferring a safer environment to shop, and therefore choosing places like us or Vijay Sales, Reliance Digital, etc. So GT shoppers migrating to modern trade on one side. At the same time, we are also seeing a lot of e-commerce loyalists switching to Chroma. Not necessarily enjoying the experience of shopping at Chroma on Chroma.com because, like I said, the site was really not in a very good shape, not designed to handle the kind of traffic we came up with. But appreciating the availability of stocks and the reliability of delivery that a electronics retailer offers. In fact, there was a period in the May, June where marketplaces were not even allowed to deal in things other than essentials. So there was a period when they couldn't even pick up the order, while we started operating in places like Bangalore starting the last week of May. So that may be partly the reason, but even running into August and September, we have seen a lot of people who are usually e-com shoppers preferring to shop with us. That's the second pattern. Third pattern is a lot of our own loyal customers have shopped for the first time on Chroma.com, which is obvious. I mean, a lot of people who would never even have searched for Chroma in a Google would have tried it to maybe see if the store is open, to maybe see if what they're looking to buy is available, etc. And therefore, ended up doing a transaction on Chroma.com. So there is a shift to digital in terms of shopping. There's a far larger shift to digital in terms of browsing, and that's the other number. Close to 3 out of 4 of our store customers have first visited Chroma.com before they entered the store. And that number used to be 40%, 45% before the lockdown. So that's a huge shift. At the same time, Chroma.com sales are 5 times what they were at the same time last year. So more people are shopping online, and whoever is shopping offline also is first going online. So the browsing behavior is definitely completely moved online. Yeah, also, a lot of people have started preferring digital modes of payment, even in our stores, rather than, handling cash. That's another huge change which has happened. The one thing that has not changed is the preference for a, physical touch feel before closing a purchase. And from the day the stores have started opening up in whichever city, so Bombay was the last city to allow stores to open. Whenever stores have started opening, there have been huge queues, and the first few days we have had to actually manage the the footfall very actively. So the preference, when I'm spending 25,000 rupees on a phone, or 1 lakh rupees on a TV, or 30,000 plus on a refrigerator, the preference to actually physically check out the product, see how it feels in my hand, see how it look in my kitchen, etc., whether my cooking utensils will fit into the refrigerator or the microwave. Those are things which have not gone away. People are still not comfortable buying electronics without physical this thing. And finally, and this is not surprising, this, even when I used to be at Coke, this was one of the learnings of crisis marketing from Latin America. When in crisis, people turn to familiar brands, and that's what we have been seeing happening. So if it's phones, more people are turning towards iPhones. If it's music, people are turning towards the Sonys and the JBLs. There is a marked preference for buying a known brand that we are seeing. And even in terms of the specs, so for instance, in laptops, entry level is not really selling as well as the next level. Of course, it's selling well, but if you look at growth, so for instance, in laptop, i5 and i7 are growing much faster than i3s. People just want more reliable technology when you are so far out of control on other aspects in your life.
Wonderful.
So these would be the few changes.
So you have not seen a shift in consumer behaviors from large ticket spends. You do see a healthy uptick in sales even on large ticket spends.
We are seeing an uptick only on large ticket spends. Impulse shopping is disappeared. People don't come into the store, for browsing and pick up something on a whim.
Right.
People need the things we sell. Let's say a dishwasher, which was never a thing in Indian homes. Suddenly it's growing 100% plus, and we still can't get enough stocks to satisfy the demand, because fundamentally the value of the home and comfort at home has changed in the last 6 months. Anything that goes into the home makes life more comfortable at home is a huge premium asset today. So it's actually only large ticket sales which are happening.
Yeah, anything which takes away the dependencies on the maids nowadays, I think is for the housewives, it's a big win if they can get that. So I'll quickly come to Rajneesh now, because we've heard about India as what's happening in India. Rajneesh, you have a much larger perspective managing multiple geographies. What has been your learnings across the geographies? Like India is definitely acute in terms of infections, but Middle East not so much. So what were some of the unique analytics-based practices you've implemented there versus here? What was your experience across the geographies?
Yeah, thanks again. So for the geographies that I manage, and because of being part of leadership team, I get visibility into the global supply chain. So one is what is important. What I have seen is important is for all markets from a supply chain and organization KPI delivery standpoint is the sales and operations planning process. So this is often used word or phrase, and I don't know how clearly many organizations do really understand what sales and operations planning process is. At the heart of this process is demand planning, which is very data centric piece. And I've seen demand planning process in many organizations, and you at times wonder as to what kind of discussions take place during demand review discussions or demand estimation. So the basic data of growth for last year, volume, value, you see all kinds of number floating across. So there should be a very sacrosanct number available, which is not left to interpretation by many departments differently. Many organizations have have cracked this, but there are still many others who are struggling with this piece, and hence the analysis of demand or the forecasting which happens in the process is leaves more to be desired. And so I've seen it for Middle East, for Africa. It is the strength of the S&OP process for FMCG organization like us, wherein you're assessing the demand very accurately. The data which is available at your disposal is something you should be very clear as to what data you want to look at, and the tools available for you to slice and dice. There are these discussions which happen between cross-functional stakeholders, and everybody wants to look at certain. Just a moment, I don't know what this questionnaire keeps coming on the screen. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. So there's nothing very specific to any geography that we have seen from a data standpoint. Data requirement is similar across. It's just that the right data should be made available in the template which enables you to towards decision making. And maybe if there will be discussion later on. Data is available plenty across. Everybody seems to be talking about data analysis as if it's a buzzword. Just by mentioning data analysis, something happens in the organization and you'll start running from an amble pace or whatever you're doing in the organization. So I think this is, and those who work from first principles understand, what data analytics is all about. So maybe I'm not directly answering the question. I'm raising a subject which is very relevant to the forum that we are here for, and I would like to spend some time on it. So so very simple thing. Organization need to ask: is my organization ready for? I should prepare my organization for data analytics. Data is available, and players like Transorg and many other partners are there who can help you visualize, templatize, make tools available for RP or many other things which you guys can support us with. But are the organizations, do they really have the thinking power to understand what do they do with the data? Unless I tell you, Shuchita, what do I want to do with my data? How will you help me tell me, right? So, so this thinking piece in the organization, and this I've seen in many organizations, organizations seem to be claiming they're pretty advanced, but this is the thinking piece that I have not really seen. There's a lot to be desired in terms of, what do you want to achieve with the data? What problem are you solving? What decisions do you need to make? Then you ask, look at the causal factors, what kind of data I need to be looking at, in what templates, and in what format. And then that's where players like you can come in, help organizations with that, with that support. And then, wonders happen, because then you have to take insights from the data, from the slicing and dicing bit, which is available. So this is one very rudimentary, fundamental piece. There are organizations, and if I talk about RB a couple of years back, we were very happy with the Excel sheets. If you have the mindset of data analytics, even with the Excel sheets, you can do wonders for the macros and other things that that I've seen my planning teams do wonders with. But then then things like Transorg or Power BI and many other things that have come in, they only make the process very efficient for you, right? They make the process efficient for you, and that's where efficiency can come in. But thinking part, organizations will need to do themselves as to what do they want to achieve through this process. So this is what in RB, what we're doing across the globe is this thinking piece. What decisions? So lagging and leading KPIs. Ask 5 whys to get to as to what you're trying to drive. Which are those other KPIs which are related? In what format and template you would like to look at your data? And Power BI template is a template, as good a template as you would like it to be. So if you wanted a very decision-friendly, insightful, template that you can create for yourself, look at the wonders in terms of what insights come out of the data. Data starts speaking for itself. If you make it very complicated, nobody understands. They will junk it after using for a while. You will keep pushing them. So that's one piece. Irrespective of whether COVID is there or not there, this is a very rudimentary, fundamental thing to the organization. They really need to look at data and be very clear as to what kind of decisions they want to drive, what are the KPIs they're achieving. Those KPIs are linked to which kind of data in the organization and should start working towards. So while you asked me a question on what I'm doing globally in my other markets, I think this S&OP process piece that I spoke about, but within S&OP process, piece, this data analytics piece is so very important, which helps you achieve wonders in the organization. I can vouch for it.
So I'm glad, Rajneesh, you're saying these things. it's very important to ask the right questions. Sometimes in
Absolutely.
the past, clients have approached us, I have all of this data. What do I do with it? We can't
Absolutely.
find that for you. You have to ask the right questions, your top priorities, your top problems, understand the business problem, convert it into an analytical problem. And
Absolutely.
analytics is just a tool to help you with solutions to those problems. And it's important to understand some of the top use cases. Clearly, if you see in the CPG sector, be it marketing or supply chain, whatever it is, supply chain, of course, has need to have build a better visibility of your supply chain funnel, where the process is breaking up. If you have real-time information, real-time dashboards, that will be helpful. On the other side, from the marketing standpoint, companies have been using media mix models to optimize their media spend, pick the right media for the right customer segments, and where they get maximize the ROIs, trade spend optimization. How do I offer my discounts? Even from a product perspective, what size of product, what price point. So analytics is everywhere, and the company
Absolutely.
which are leveraging their data, which are leveraging analytics, are definitely the leaders in the respective verticals. So I completely echo your thoughts, and I appreciate you mentioned those things. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yes, Naveen. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Naveen. So one question that I had in my mind and I thought I'll ask the panelists today is, and it's open to the entire panel. So what do you think is the growth story for India? Is it urban versus rural? Is it online versus offline? Where do you think the next growth story for you in your segment would be going forward? So I'll request, it's an open question to all the panelists.
So, if I may go first, I think you're just framing the debate wrong. It's not online versus offline. If I were to take our example, India is a very, very digital savvy country. We have been since 2004-5, whenever we started moving into GPRS data, not even 3G or 4G. Okay, how businesses choose to serve this digital native, whether it is online, offline, etc., is a question of a business model. Okay, my understanding of the value chain of retailing, and we compete with Amazon on one side and Vijay Sales on the other side, is that no business can successfully make room for both creating, e-com site, compete for eyeballs, as well as pay rent on prime sites. Okay, in the physical world. So it's a business model question. Amazon will do what it does best. Vijay Sale will do what it does best. We will do what we do best. But the customer we are all going for is the same digital native, because he's the guy who's aspirational, growing, getting ahead in life, and wants to consume. Okay, and it's not just a story of electronics. If you look at India as a country, I don't know what has happened to the 100 smart cities. उसमें से कितने पैदा हुए, कितने हो रहे हैं, क्या होगा? But frankly, jobs are in the cities. Okay, across India today is a city of immigrants. People from smaller towns come to bigger towns for jobs. People from rural move to smaller towns usually for education, sometimes for even jobs. Okay, this motion that has set in over the last 20 odd years is something which is going to keep growing. So urbanization is what is driving growth. Formalization is what is driving growth. More and more people are moving from, India's GDP looks at services as a huge piece. But what it hides is that most of them are, cash market, trading, arbitrage kind of profiles. Okay, what has happened over the last few years is a formalization of the economy. It has created shocks in the economy as well, whether it is demonetization, GST, etc. But it has also created a formalization. So if I look at my stores, the people who used to, the smaller vendors, the accessories, etc. Before GST and after GST, the entire set of vendors has changed. Okay, there are a newer set of entrepreneurs who are learning to do business with the new ways of doing things, and they are far more adept at making use of the opportunities that something like this has opened up. Another cue is, from the month GST came into place, desktops, which were a dead category, started growing again. printers which get paired with desktops, simple softwares like Tally which allow you to generate invoices. So there is, you give a stimulus, you make a change, and there is a set of people adept and available to adopt that and make a living out of it. These are the things which are going to keep driving growth. I'm very bullish on India as a market. I think manufacturing also may just be about to take off. In our category, we are seeing a lot of activity. The Make in India piece on smartphones, etc., is definitely growing roots now. And I think manufacturing will come up. Services will move into a more formalized space. Formalization and urbanization, therefore more people moving to cities, earning a living, and creating the multiplier which all developing economies actually go through as a path to progress.
Wonderful insights, Ritesh. So urbanization will continue, and because of Make in India initiatives, the growth story is very strong for India. Any other perspectives? I believe, Rajneesh, you were about to say something. So would you like to?
So yeah, so what I was saying is in terms of shift. So we've seen disproportionate growth in e-commerce channel anyway. As so each e-commerce business contribution of 5% a couple of years back is now close to 13-14% already for India business, and it's growing. COVID times would have seen more shift to e-commerce, and gradually, steadily, what we see anyway, demand comes back to the general trade as well, modern trade and e-commerce. But definitely, there will be some delta switch which will happen from the other channels to e-commerce channel. That will definitely happen. So we're not saying that we are making a strategy. So we already are making business strategies which are more supportive of e-commerce play, making your packaging more e-commerce friendly, so that more and more SKUs could be migrated for service to that channel. So these are some of the things that we're doing. And what? So we do not see that something like this or this will happen. We monitor the data very closely every month. And look at the trends which are there, and basis which we kind of take decisions. We are very agile, we are responsive organization. So we see some trends emerging and keep ourselves ready, as we say, for data. Data comes in handy and helps us with urban and rural play. I don't think I have the answer right now. Maybe we'll need to talk to the sales team, but that is something, again, we watch. What are our priorities in terms of, like Banega Swachh India? There is a mandate anyway to go to rural as deep as possible, which we are doing anyway, any which way. So those initiatives still remain. We are chalking out strategies to help support, to the population living in those far-flung areas to ensure that our product reaches there either through the government-led initiatives or some initiatives, which RB through its own distribution model will reach out to. So this is the only thing I wanted to share then.
I just want to add to this. What is emerging or what is trending in terms of our discussions within the management team is that India, in addition to the changes visible today, will also become a very diverse and agile consumer market. When I say very diverse, it means that there will be different priorities and different preferences, whether it is region wise, location wise, or consumer strata wise. And organizations will have to adopt all these to cater to these demands, whether it is demands from the channel partners like the modern trade, e-commerce, or general trade guys, or it is the end consumer preferences. So the supply chains and the organizations, including the manufacturing part and design part, will have to be very agile in terms of fast, in terms of conceptualization to delivery. At the same time, you have to manage diverse requirement. There is no way of escaping. This guy wants this, so I won't give. I will give X. I will not give Y. So this is the complexity we should be ready and gearing up for.
I would like to add on this. So
Sure.
for our category, I think there will be much more growth on rural segment, and there will be definitely there is a shift in e-com and modern trade. So modern trade, what it was around 10 years back, it is far ahead now. Same pattern we can see for e-com in next 10 years. And I think there will be a lot of merging of general trade and e-com will happen. So going forward, a lot of technology aggregators will be coming, like I am placing an order. So that order may be landing to the Kirana shop nearby my house. And that Philo is only servicing it, but it is automatic and online. And down the line, I see that kind of pattern is happening. You need not to go to the shop, but from the nearby shop, some product will come, and those distribution of the order will be done by some aggregators. And if product is not available in one shop, then it may go to in another shop. This concept has already come into the US, where the orders are going to multiple channel partners, where the product is available, and finally the goods are aggregated and dispatched to the customers. So I see that kind of pattern will happen, where general trade customers or general trade channels will be taking part of some part of e-com basically.
Definitely, Umesh. That's a wonderful point you've made. In fact, we have received one query from one of the delegates, Mr. Puspendra from Pidilite. And again, this I'll keep it open for the panelists. The question is that how can we leverage analytics for field force as their ways of working have changed dramatically?
So should I answer this one? So
Yes.
so I think a lot of data into the field. I mean, in point of sales and where the consumption is happening, and the correlation of that data with the Nielsen data, how much market is growing, how much the category size, and what is your numeric distribution. With means of that, they can see the potential, how much more potential is there into the market, and they can integrate that one with your value chain, with the distributor, then with the depot, and finally that orders can be fulfilled. I think getting into that data of what consumer is consuming, what is the demography of the customer, and what is the age profile of the customer, what is the spend pattern of the customer, is definitely going to help to the sales force. And since I had worked in Pidilite also, so there is a lot of do-it-yourself kits are there in Pidilite. Okay, in that concept is not used by customers in India, but in US most of the customers buy the goods and do it yourself. Now that concept is coming now. The customer has a kit of 100 rupees, so it has shoe fix, it has quick fix and other stuff basically, which you will be using over the 1 years, and you buy it and you do it yourself whenever it is needed. And by using those all the data, I think sales force can generate much more insights and definitely help to grow more top line.
Sure. We have a couple of questions. I think one is addressed to Ritesh, and I do believe you've answered part of it, but I'll still pick it up. So Ms. Damini has asked a question that how is Croma Digital going hand in hand with the physical stores?
So there are three kinds of shoppers today in the market. 80% of the people start their search online and buy either online or offline, depending on where they get the better deal or the the smart solution for the money they are spending. 10% of the people do not venture out of their homes. Go online, buy from one of the online sellers. And 10% of the people are yet to discover the joys of online browsing. They come to a store, buy without checking any online assets of any brand. So that's the market construct. Croma's digital assets are essentially, whether social or the Google My Business pages of our individual stores or the site Croma.com, are geared towards addressing the 80% who are the battleground, so to speak, between us and the marketplaces, online marketplaces. The challenge there is who starts the journey where, and so they are interested in making people close the sale without stepping out of their homes. I'm interested in people coming to my store, and therefore the way I phrase the arguments are around bringing people to the store. The way they phrase their arguments is why wait, the deal will end tomorrow, deal will end in an hour, or whatever it is. So it's the battlefield, so to speak. People who are the 10% who have not yet migrated online, I believe they will probably move towards a verticalized retailer like Croma, or like, for instance, Nykaa has seen success in cosmetics rather than a marketplace, because they like the comfort of you know, discussive, considered kind of a purchase behavior. The third bucket, which is the, you know, the online only guy, our assessment shows he's also extremely deal sensitive guy, probably somebody whose business we're not even going to chase. So that's essentially what the strategy is. Okay, so our site is geared to deliver commerce. You can transact on the site, but the primary role of the site is what we call digital influence, which is soak the customer in the choice of the product, create a comparison set for him, and then bring him to the store for the final choice.
Right. Thanks, Ritesh, for the clarification. We have a couple of more questions, and actually now I'm throwing it open for the delegate questions, and I'll park one last question of mine towards the end. It's a question which has come from Kashyap from Coca-Cola. So his question is that, in the new norm, some of the old ways of measuring business performance may not be relevant anymore. So what are some of those data points you are using in your own day-to-day operations to analyze your business performance? What are some of the new KPIs and metrics you are using? Again, I'll keep it open for the forum. Anybody? Devendra, would you like to start? And Bhargav as well?
Yeah, so not much has changed in terms of our metrics that we are using to measure performance. But what has definitely changed is that the weightage and importance we give to each of the parameters. Like suppose if you say forecast accuracy, that now in today's context is not very important from a overall operating model perspective, because we all know that we are operating in an uncertain environment. But what is very important then that weightage shifts to fill rates, because all said and done, as a business entity, you have to deliver your fill rates and make sure that you don't lose out on orders. And similarly, the focus on cost is there, but beyond cost, service levels in terms of delivering goods on time and making sure that the customer requirements is met, come what may happen. If you can delight, very very good. If not, then at least meet it. So this way there's a lot of change in the focus we are putting, an emphasis we are putting on the different parts of the KRA, and also putting up some new analytics role which were not so critical in the erstwhile scenario, or was critical, but organizations kept sleeping on that okay, we will see what to do, not to do. But those roles purely towards end-to-end data mapping, in terms of, like, if you see, typically supply chain looks at the FG related times and lead times, etc. But now we are looking at ways where we can map end-to-end from sourcing delivery, the whole chain lead times, and people should have those KRS to make sure that the whole lead time is crunched rather than one part of it. Because if that one part is not leading overall reduction in customer or consumer response time, then it is of not much use to the organization. So we are looking at everything more from a consumer or customer point of view and laying those emphasis on that. But the fundamentals of business haven't changed, and they will, I guess, will not change.
Sure. Thanks, Devendra. So one question I have for Bhargav. Bhargav, a question has been asked by Mr. Ajit that what are some of the steps that companies are taking to ensure a robust taxonomy or classification structure of the data before they start an analytics project? And I think it will speak to you particularly, since you are a conglomerate looking at different businesses. So how do you set up the data practice before you even initiate the analytics?
Yeah, actually, this is one of the burning question and issue for any data analytics area or problem or anything program you want to start, right? So as many of the panelists also mentioned that data is not an issue, but the point is that what type of data, quality of data, and all these things, right? That is the main point. Now, as a conglomerate, what we are trying to establish, we're trying to establish the data standardization initiative in terms of looking at the business, of course, linking with a business objective, whether it is your sales is one. I'm just going by functional side. Your sales focus that again related to your SNOP, then supply planning, dispatch planning, right? This is one big set of transactional data. We have generally every business has it. They do possess a big chunk of that transactional data. And what I have observed, more or less, this chunk of data are quite, in terms of quality, it is quite matured across. That is what I have observed. But the problem happens on the other side of areas where we become kind of unstructured. In terms of the one point came out, the Salesforce related one question came right in between. So during Salesforce visits, and the two things should work hand in hand in terms of technology and of course data. Technology means once they visit, they need to collect the insight via various mode, via discussion, via interview and all. And generally those information becoming unstructured data in your ecosystem. So how you can mine that data. So that is the second piece. Now that is from another side of Salesforce data. We generally comes into the system. Now how you mine that data. So generally most of the big companies, they are not equipped with mining this unstructured data. So your strategy should be also to address that unstructured piece of data information, which will contain a good amount of gold mine information. I'm telling you, this is one of the main information many people are not looking into, many insightful information, which we have just now started mining in our strategy. Then another big area of data ecosystem lies in core manufacturing side. So that is where it becomes even more dicey. There are a couple of things in terms of in the manufacturing, depending on your type of industry, how old the manufacturing facility is there. So depending on various factors, the technological implementations differ. So some facilities only has very basic level DCS PLC systems. Some might have MES system. So depending on this kind of technological thing, maturity of your manufacturing core manufacturing facilities, your data ecosystem vary. Now how to standardize that? So that is another area. Now while standardizing that data, also another four factors you need to consider, again from a business perspective, whether you are addressing quality issue, product quality issue, or whether you are addressing asset performance, equipment performance issue, or you are addressing other operational issues like energy reduction, operational throughput improvement, likewise, right? So depending on these 3-4 business areas, depending on technology that is being there in your manufacturing facility, then what type of data at what frequency and for how long duration you need to collect, that you need to strategize. So this is another important aspect we need to look into. And another last piece I'm telling you is coming from the not only manufacturing but as a whole industrial side, the data duplication, right? There in terms of, let's have some let's say my spare inventory that has come to my manufacturing facilities. Engineering spares, I'm just telling you, engineering spares like ball bearing, then your conveyor belt, and likewise. These are like lakhs of thousands of items, all individual items with different some minor differences, right? So lots of duplications happens while adding new buying those kind of items. While buying and procuring those items, all these duplications create a huge set of another data chunk that will because of that, what happens, ultimately you end up having high inventory, or you end up paying high price for the same item, whereas you might be knowing somewhere mentioned in your data that same item can be bought in low price from some other vendors because of these data issues. So all these things are there. So we are trying to build this standardization and how to bring everything in
Right.
one go. That is what
Yeah.
we're trying to do now.
Sure, I think we can go into conversation for hours just on this. I'll take just one last question before we wrap up. We do want to adhere to the time here. So there's a question from Ms. Vidya Atal, and it's particularly targeted towards Rajneesh, I believe. In the current scenario, she's asking, how can I set up analytics vision? And any advice for mining first-party data in order to arrive insights for customizing product offers? So I do believe, of course, your specialization lies in supply chain, but any perspective you can share from that perspective.
I can answer questions for supply chain. So if you could repeat the question for me again.
So yeah, so her question is that from an FMCG sector perspective, how can I craft an analytics vision in today's time? And any particular advice on mining first-party data in order to arrive at insights?
So,
how do I acquire clean data? What can we do?
Talk about the data analytics vision that she's talking. So that's why I'm saying this is a much hype thing. There's some vision or mission for data analytics. What I would like to leave my audience with a thought here is be very clear as to what you're driving, which KPIs you're driving in your business, right? What decisions you make, your team members make, what data is required to do that. So there should, first of all, I think all organizations should do this this session with the team members as to what do we really want to achieve from the data that we already have. There is huge data available across, right? So you should be clear what decisions you're driving. So get together as a team. Many times people do not really lend a thought to what they will be needing to arrive at a particular decision. They are only, most of the time they are seen scratching, the surface. So once as a team, you get together to understand what decision we are taking, which are the data points which will be required, and do we have that data? And then provoke your team members into asking some questions which they wouldn't have thought about. So this is a culture which, when you start in the organization, then you can ask for data analytics support through Power BI, or Transorg will have many other tools available to support. But one is, organizations need to be aware, what do they want to do in the first place? So no mission or vision will help you. There's nothing like that anyway. It's just that, whatever you're driving in your area of work, in your area of responsibility, you be clear as to what decisions you need to make. And for that, you would want data in a particular template. You should be having the ability to slice and dice it the way you want to get insights of the data. If you can achieve this, largely I've seen in last N number of years I've been in the organizations, if people can do this very clearly, from this simple steps, look at the kind of wonders that take place. So this is the thought I would like to leave the audience with. Maybe there are others who would have some better answers for the question that is there. I'll like to leave this thought only right now.
Right, Rajneesh. So I think talking to the stakeholders, and once you have the data, it's very important to have a vision and plan, like how do you plan to use it, and that's where the conversation internally will matter quite a bit.
Absolutely.
On that front, because there are ways in which you can acquire the data, but if the vision is not clear, then the end goal cannot be achieved. So that certainly makes sense. Umesh, any thought from your side as well, given again, coming from FMCG sector, what would be your advice in terms of setting up an analytics vision in today's time in the FMCG segment? Hi, Umesh, can you hear us?
Sorry.
Sure.
So I would like to add on what Rajneesh said on the objectives, what you want to achieve basically by means of using the data, and how you are going to drive your matrices with the help of the data. First, coming out with the clear-cut goal, and how this investment on the data analytics vertical is going to bring a ROI for the business. And once you are clear it, then please use your data and from the different verticals, maybe from procurement and from the manufacturing, or from the primary sales and secondary as well as tertiary. So you need to identify the objectives and how this vertical is going to help to the business and bringing much more top line and bottom line. and how it is going to help people to make the decisions much more faster. And like control towers, basically control towers, bringing the data from all the verticals of the supply chain, vendor base, manufacturing, and primary distribution, planning, and secondary distribution, as well as tertiary distribution. If you can bring it and design a single dashboard of all the KPIs and whatever important to the business, and then definitely it will help it. So defining the objective will be first is the key priority, and then based on that, and you leverage the technology. Basically, the technology business has to drive the technology, not the technology has to drive the business.
Absolutely,
That is the mantra.
That's a wonderful insight, and I think we'll wrap the session today at this thought. I'll quickly bring in our CEO, Mr. Naveen Jain, to give a quick 1 minute perspective from his point of view. We come as servicing to the industry, so any perspective that Naveen you can share with the audience before we wrap up. Sorry, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much to all the panelists for those wonderful insights. And we got insights from marketing standpoint and supply chain, manufacturing. So a good combination of use of data and analytics and where it can be used in different functions within the organization. So as I said earlier, analytics is, at this current point in time, it's not nice to have kind of a thing. It is a must. If you see the organizations, very successful organizations, even the organizations who have just started in the last few years, they have put in analytics as an integral part of the strategy and as part of the organization's main focus areas. So it is not nice to have any longer. You have to leverage data. Data is the new fuel of the 21st century. Obviously, there is a lot of talent which is required in the market. Data scientists are not easy to recruit. So that's where, we partner with organizations in CPG sector and across to share that perspective from broader industry point of view. So we work with clients not only in CPG sector, in aviation, banking, financial services. The whole idea is to partner with the clients and help them create an analytics roadmap and leverage analytics for different business use cases within an organization. As I said earlier, in CPG, there are multiple use cases. While you may not know the consumers, specific consumer data which is available in a bank or a telecom company, but there's a wide variety of marketing data available. There is Nielsen data. There's multiple data points which are available within your systems on the sales and supply chain and marketing. So definitely, thank you so much once again for sharing these insights. And we learned a lot. All of us learned a lot from your experiences and your how you fought with the COVID scenario and how you have leveraged data analytics within your organizations. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you all our panelists for your invaluable time and insights. We've learned tremendously. And I would like to also thank the audience for participating and sharing your ideas for discussion. I'm hoping that you've found some answers to your burning questions. Of course, 1 hour is not enough to answer all questions, but learning from the industry leaders, they are the beacons of the industry, and this is the opportunity where we learn from them. Any questions which remain unanswered, we'll attempt to get them resolved as soon as possible and come back. And you can also find a recording of this available to you later on. We will share the recording link with the audience. Please feel free to share any of your questions, comments, feedback with us. And our email IDs are displayed here. We are always available. And if you'd like to learn more about what TransDog's services and solutions are all about, then please feel free to reach out to us or to write or visit our website. Thank you once again, all our panelists, Mr. Ritesh Koshal, Mr. Rajneesh Goyal, Mr. Devendra Jain, Mr. Sumesh Joshi, and Mr. Bhargav Datta. Thank you once again for all your time and insights, and for spending the afternoon on a busy weekday to share your insights with the audience. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Thank you all.
Thanks to
Pleasure to join.
Thanks to all.
Thank you.